Hello, students. Welcome to another day, another week. I hope we are all doing fine. In our last class, we talked about professions and job opportunities in art careers. We talked about art works like art designer, graphic designer, web designer, and so on. In our today's class, we'll be talking about terminologies in two-dimensional art. Terminologies in two-dimensional art. Remember in our second term, we talked about art terms in art generally, but today we're talking about art terms in two-dimensional art. The first one, vanishing point. A vanishing point is a point on the image plane of a perspective drawing where the two-dimensional perspective projections of mutually parallel lines in three-dimensional space appear to converge. That is where some lines appear to meet at a certain point. All right. Also, we have what we call medium. Medium in art, medium refers to the substance, material substance the artist uses to create a piece of artwork. Next, we have chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro in art is the use of strong contrast between light and dark, usually bold contrasts, affecting a whole composition. It is also a technical term used by artists and art historians for the use of contrasts of light to achieve a sense of volume in modeling, that is, in modeling three-dimensional objects and figures. Next, we have foreshortening. Foreshortening refers to the technique of depicting an object or human body in a picture so as to produce an illusion of projection or extension in space. Extension, projection in space. Also, we have what we call aerial perspective. Aerial perspective, also called atmospheric perspective. Method of creating this illusion of depth or precision in a painting or drawing by modulating colors to stimulate changes effected by the atmosphere on the colors or things seen at a distance in painting or in drawing. Next, we have what we call repeat motif. Repeat motif in visual production. It is a reoccurrence of a particular line, pattern, shape, or other visual elements in a single or parts of the series. The production of something which is repetitive, yet at the same time and exciting is a challenge, as many consider the reoccurrence as boring and still. But no matter what, repeat pattern is okay. Also, we have silhouette. A silhouette is an image of a person, animal, objects, or scene represented as a solid shape of a single color, usually black, and its edges matches the outline of the subject. The interior of a silhouette is featureless, and the silhouette is usually presented on a light background using white or none at all. Also, we have picture plane. When an artist creates an impression of space within a painting, the picture plane is the transparent division between the fictive internal space and the real space outside in which the viewer is placed. Where an artist creates an impression of space within the painting of the picture plane. Alright? Also, we have concept. A concept art is a form of visual art used to convey an idea for use in films, video games, animation, comic books, or other media before it is put into the final product. Also, we have alla prima. In Italian term directly translated as "at first attempt", but in the art world is known as an oil painting technique in which the artist paints in one go or wet into wet. The technique requires the artist to work fast and decisively before the surface paints dry. Also called direct painting or result tend to be described as bold, expressive, and painterly. Also, we have brushwork. Brushwork is the way in which a painter uses their brush as evidence in painting. The way a painter uses their brush. Also, we have what we call color theory. Artists for centuries have organized, reorganized, and made rules around colors, perspection, and color mixing. In present day, students of art are taught about the color wheel, primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, and color relationships or the visual effects of color combination or effects of color combination. I hope many of us remember what our color wheel is, where we have our primary color, secondary colors, and tertiary colors. Also, we have what we call assemblage. Assemblage is an artistic form or medium usually created on a defined substrate that consists of three-dimensional elements projecting out of or from the substrate. It is similar to collage, a dimensional medium. That's what we call assemblage. Also, we have what we call biomorphism. Biomorphism models artistic design elements on naturally occurring patterns or shapes, reminiscent or nature and living organisms. Taken to its extreme, it attempts to force naturally occurring shapes onto functional device. That's what we call biomorphism. Biomorphism. Also, we have what we call abstract. Abstract art uses visual language of shape, form, color, and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from visual experiences in the world today. That's what we call abstract art. Abstract art. Also, we have what we call middle ground. Middle ground. A middle ground is a standpoint or area midway between extreme or opposing position, options, or objectives. That's what we call middle ground. I take it again. It is a standpoint or area midway between extreme or opposing position, options, or objectives. Also, we have what we call foreground. The area of the picture space nearest to the viewer, that's what we call foreground, immediately behind the picture plane is known as the foreground. An understanding of perspective developed in the early 15th century, allowing painters to divide space behind the picture plane into foreground, middle ground, and background. That is what foreground is all about. Also, we have what we call avant-garde. It is a French term that means advance-garde. It's a term that can be applied to artists and artworks as well as art movements as a whole. It is usually a stand-in phrase for art that is experimental, unusual, and forward-thinking. Again, It is a standing phrase for art that is experimental, unusual, and forward thinking. Next, we have what we call composition. Composition. Composition, it is the term broadly applied to how the elements of an artwork are arranged. Certain strategies for composition have been around for hundreds of years, like the golden mean and the rule of thirds. That is what composition it's all about. That is the way you arrange your work. The way you arrange your work. Next, we have what we call contrapposto. Contrapposto. It is an Italian term that means counterpoise and describes when a human figure with is balanced more on one leg than the other, resulting in shoulders and arms off axis to hips and legs. The stance is most famous on sculpture and most goes back to the classic ages. Alright? Next, we have what we call motif. A motif is an element, pattern, or design in an artwork that is often used repeatedly. An artist can also use a motif again and again in a body of art and even throughout their career. Next, we have what we call mixed media. An artwork in which more than one medium or material has been incorporated is described too as mixed media. Assemblage and collage are popular mixed media art form. Assemblage and collage. Also, we have what we call texture. In painting, there are so many ways texture can and has been manipulated. Historic European artists created paintings with glassy, textureless surfaces. Modern painters embrace texture, whether allowing paint to seep into a surface or build up onto it. Impasto is the process or technique of thickly applying paint to a surface. Next, we have what we call value. Value, it is the lightness or darkness of a color or hue. Many artists argue value is the most important aspect of a realistic painting, more important than color itself. Lastly, we have what we call symbolism. Symbols can be personal, but historically, they refer to broadly accepted and understood references. In painting or drawing, this is applied to visual references, usually objects that stand in for ideas or meanings. Do not forget what we have learned today. Remember, we talked about different art terms used in two-dimensional art, assemblage, foreshortening, and so on. Love to see you in our next class where we'll be talking about another interesting topic. See you. Bye.